What's up? What is up? Welcome to another episode of Find Your Purpose. I think this is episode 15. Usually have my lives on Friday, so this is a change. My guest and I are not available tomorrow because of everything that's happening with graduations and stuff and work. So why not a Thursday? Wait, what's up, Roberto? So first off, I would like to start this live with saying that all my thoughts and prayers are with the families who were victims of yesterday's shooting here in San Jose. I live in San Jose. I actually live a couple blocks away from where it happened. So just my thoughts and prayers to those families, and for everybody out there, please stay safe. It's unfortunate that these things still happen in this country. And yeah, it's scary. It's scary to say the least. But I'm going to go ahead and start with my weekly shout outs. I would like to shout out Ale and Raylene. Yes, we're from Latinas Talk Dinero. Yesterday I was a guest on their page to talk about what does it mean to be a first generation professional. So it was really an awesome conversation, because check that out. I would link it on the video after it's posted. I would also like to shout out Edna and Kashani. I probably butchered your name. I really apologize. From reflectives.rp. They invited me to do a have a conversation at Clubhouse, which was my first time. And it was to talk about mental health in Latino men and Black men, and it was one of the best conversations I've ever been a part of. It was a really awesome space. So I think they'll be sharing some of those clips within the next couple of days or weeks. I'm not sure, so I'll definitely promote it whenever it happens. And lastly, I would like to shout out Luz Collective. The Luz Collective, they just shared one of my reels, and it's really fun. It's fun to see that me putting myself out there and a little dancing here and there, talk about mental health, is reaching a lot of folks. So getting a lot of followers. So welcome to all my new followers. My name is Benjamin. My pronouns are he, his, him, él, and super excited to continue growing this this platform, this safe space to talk about the college experience, the Latinx community, mental health, Greek life, and everything in between. So a lo que venimos. I'm going to go ahead and invite my guest after I do the bio for her. So my guest of today is Jenny. She is a first-generation Mexican-American born and raised in San Diego, California. Jenny holds a bachelor's degree in Spanish and a minor in women's studies. She is currently a grad student studying higher education administration at Georgia Southern University and is a working higher education professional working as an admissions counselor for a private four-year institution in the Bay Area. She is the founder of Mundo Latinx, which is a space catered to all Latinx individuals to empower and celebrate our latinidad with pride. Through Mundo Latinx, she hopes to inspire Latinx to believe in their stories, be proud of their heritage, and work hard for what they deserve in life. So let's go ahead and invite Jenny in. And sorry, I'm out of breath, y'all. I've been running back and forth. I have a meeting after this live, so it's ahí vamos. Hey.
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, muy bien. ¿Y tú?
Good. Just like I was saying, I'm running back and forth because we had a meeting before this. I have a meeting after this. We're doing this live. I'm happy we made time for it, even if we might have to cut it short. We'll have to probably do a part 2 at some point.
I'm down. Thank you
for having me. Is this your first time you being the guest?
Yes, hey. It is. Woo!
I'm super excited. Thank you for the honor. I know you've been doing a lot of work with your social media platform page and social media page. So I'm happy to host you today now after you've hosted a lot of us on your page.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Thank you for this space. Honestly, it means a lot.
Well, tell us a little bit about you. You did mention you were from San Diego, born and raised in San Diego. Tell us a little bit about like growing up in San Diego. Where's your family from?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I am Jenny. I am from San Diego, California, but I'm Mexican American, so I do have double nationalities. And my parents are from Jalisco. So very, very proud of my Mexican culture. And growing up in San Diego, I mean, honestly, being a border town, it was really, really cool to kind of have Tijuana literally across the border, and being able to kind of embrace my culture in San Diego and also, of course, in Tijuana, and just having both of those worlds so close to me, right? I felt like it was such a cool, just place to be and be able to kind of experience the US and Mexico so close, you know? So it was really awesome. But yeah, in regards to kind of my education, things were a little rough on that end, but I know we'll touch on that in a bit.
Well, let's jump in there. Where did you get your undergraduate, your bachelor's?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's at San Diego State University, but I was a transfer student, so I did go to a community college prior, and then transferred to San Diego State. But to be honest, yeah, it was definitely a rough patch, being a first generation Latina and not necessarily understanding always what to do, or who to go to for resources or guidance. And in high school, I mean, I just felt like I wasn't the greatest student in a sense. So my school counselor was never really there to guide me and tell me, hey, you have these options, regardless of what your GPA may look like, you know, you have these opportunities. It was never really there. That conversation was never there. So it was really rough to understand, okay, I guess community college is going to be the option, which I don't regret now, because it was a good option, and like financially and so many other levels. But I just wish I would have had that kind of that guidance throughout that process.
Let's take a step back then. Tell us about your community college experience. I apologize for jumping too soon. Because I also attended community college, and I have a lot of students who attend community college. And I think it's very important for them to hear that it's not a bad thing to attend a community college. You know, growing up for me, community college was like, oh yeah, everyone's going to end up going there. Oh yeah, like everyone that looked like me ended up attending the community colleges where I'm from. How was it for you? Was there a stigma for community college in San Diego?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. So it was essentially the same idea that you were saying. It was kind of like a lot of my peers in my high school were pretty much thinking that's where we're all going, essentially, a lot of them. Right. So for me, it was kind of like at first when I started the community college journey, I really felt like not as accomplished, right? I felt like for some reason, like community college has the stigma of sometimes being kind of like the second option, right? If you're not getting into kind of your first choices, you tend to go to community college. But to be honest, for me, during the time, I didn't really see it that way. And I was kind of like, man, I'm going to be stuck there for years, and no one's going to really tell me how to go about stuff, what classes to take, what majors to go for. So that was kind of my approach at first, but once I was kind of actually like a student, I did ask for help. I did kind of reach out to folks that can kind of guide me, even though it's kind of rough. I was still kind of able to leverage, the services and the resources. But even then, I still felt like it took me a little longer. So I did do 3 years instead of typical 2 years in community college, because I was switching so much with majors and kind of going one way or the other. But now looking into it, I felt like it was such a good call on my end, because I'm debt free. And not a lot of people can say that. Financial aid obviously came into play. That helped a lot. FAFSA, Pell Grants, all that stuff really helped. But during the time, of course, it was just kind of this battle of like, why am I here? You know, questioning kind of like, why was it that the only option sometimes for certain students? And that's kind of where I found myself. But I don't regret it. And now as a higher ed professional, like I really do try to promote this idea of it's not always, everyone has kind of their own path, and it's always okay to try it out one way or another. Community colleges are great. And you're essentially already you're getting your general eds anyway, and you're paying for a cheaper tuition. So why not do that? And then just transfer out wherever you want to eventually have your bachelor's from. So yeah, it was kind of somewhat of a roller coaster feeling and kind of going through community college, but I don't regret it now.
Yeah, definitely. I don't regret it either. I'm proud, así como I said in previous lives, just how I have my other degrees, I have my associates right there next to them. As I'm like, that one's my favorite one of all, because that's where like someone said, like one of my best professors or best classes that I took. Some of the people, there was like not the best ones everywhere. And there was great ones everywhere as well. And I think you mentioned something, a 2-year, graduate 2 instead of 3. We should stop. I posted a couple of days ago that we should stop calling universities 4-year institutions. Yeah. That's not a reality, right? and we should stop calling community colleges two-year institutions, because
Yeah.
exactly like you, when me, I transferred in 3 years and a half, and I felt like, well, I'm behind.
Yeah.
Everyone else is supposed to be 2 years. I'm 1 year and a half away from, or me pasé, like what am I still doing here? Questioning myself, doubting myself, and then you transfer, and you're like, I'm already old. It's like, so they should stop calling them at work. I really going to be pushing that, at least for the what we do, to stop calling them like that. Porque it's not fair. It's just an extra pressure you're putting on the student. No, but okay. For me, like at community college, was the hardest part for me was to find the support. Who do I go to? And I didn't even know how to ask for the help. Someone had to like legit drag me to this person to talk to the transfer counselor. What was your process like? Did you feel comfortable talking to or reaching out to folks? And how was that process? I'm curious.
Yeah. So for community college, for me, I felt like a lot of the times I resorted to just professors. So I felt like that was kind of my closest relationship to a professional within higher ed. So for me, it was resorting to them first, and then eventually going to like the academic services center. But sometimes even them, like sometimes they didn't really know how to guide me to possibly transfer properly or on time, right? And so because I would switch majors, like I want to say like twice or three times in community college, they were just kind of like, you're kind of all over the place. So what do we do with you? And so, so it's kind of this battle of, understanding kind of my story and understanding kind of what my needs were, and then seeing that and then guiding me through the process. So honestly, ultimately, I just kind of resorted to my professors because too, I was a working professional throughout my whole college experience. So I didn't really have a lot of time either to just be kind of sitting around and going to different like student orgs or student clubs or just have the sweet time to allocate to a lot of these types of requests. I had to work too. So I tried my best to first go to my professors, and then from there, go to different offices that I felt like could possibly guide me through the best path. But it didn't always happen the way I wanted, but eventually I was able to transfer out, but it was definitely a hit and miss.
Yeah. Key thing you mentioned, they didn't know how to guide me. Also, your story, which is that's the conversation of today. No, one of the things for me to feel comfortable in asking for support is because like, well, like, oh, these folks, like I can't relate, right? They don't look like me, or I can't connect. And if I'm already there, like, is this person really caring? No, so like I think as professionals in higher ed, and it's hard, right? It's hard because there's a lot of students, but if you're working with the student one-on-one, getting to know the student, getting to know them like as the person, like, hey, what are your goals? Like, where are you from? Tell them a little bit about you. And then para que, so people can feel more comfortable talking to you. The student already came to us with the support. That's already hard enough, especially for students of color. And like getting to know the student a little bit more. So like if your professors or the folks you went to, same thing with me, if they would have got the chance to get to know me a little bit more and try to like see what like my thought process, like my doubts, my fears and all that, maybe I would have felt more comfortable going back all the time. Hey, this person actually cares. Okay, so you transferred to San Diego State.
Yes.
What was that like being a transfer student? Because I know what it's like.
It was really, really overwhelming. It's a really big school, right? It's a state school in San Diego. And so going from a community college to a bigger state school like that was very, very overwhelming. Going to lecture halls that were 300 plus students, right? And being so intimidating to even ask a question. It was just kind of going through all those struggles of like, man, I need to now put myself in this kind of space and find ways to succeed with all these students here that are also in a sense competing with me. So it was very rough. It was really rough to find myself, even though there's a huge Latino and Latinx population at San Diego State. I still felt like it really lacked representation within faculty, staff, and although they had a mecha and Latinx like center and
Mm-hmm.
resources, I still felt like they were so hard. They wouldn't reach out as much, if that makes sense. They wouldn't do a lot of efforts to like reach out to all these folks that were so scared, like me, to ask for help, you know, because it was such a big, like overwhelming place for me at first that I just didn't even know how to navigate it in the beginning. And so I was really just trying to just gauge how to best go about it. But it was really, really tough in the beginning, just trying to navigate, okay, where is this building? What classes am I having to take? Major wise, you know, I went in with a specific major and then I transferred again. I changed my major while at San Diego State. So what was that for me? It was really just a rough patch, but all in all, to say that it really was an experience that I feel like a lot of first gen students tend to go through, having to understand kind of what suits their needs, and while you're taking classes, kind of understanding what is it really that you're trying to major in and make as a career, right? Eventually after graduating. So for me, like I eventually realized, you know, Spanish could possibly be a thing. So I ended up switching into Spanish, and that's what I graduated with, thinking that I wanted to teach. So just trying to
Don't
get
we all?
back, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, don't we all? I sorry for interrupting you because I'm also a Spanish major, FYI, for folks that may not know. For the same things, and I think, like you said, thinking that I also wanted to teach, but in reality, it's because my Spanish professors, mis profesoras, were the ones who actually cared. You know, were the ones like you're saying,
Yeah.
the professor that would tell me to stay after class and like help me out, asking me questions of like, where do you see yourself in 3 years? And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do next semester. So
Yeah.
like stuff like that, right? So I'm like, I want to be like them. So like I wanted to be a Spanish professor. And at the same time, it was the Spanish classes. I don't know how you feel about this, but were spaces where actually I felt safe. I felt like I can be authentic. No one was gonna judge me for speaking Spanish or for having an accent. And at the same time, be able to share a little bit about me. So this is like, you know, this life is about sharing your story, right? Feeling comfortable. Where did you find spaces on campus, whether San Diego State or CC, to share your story,
Yeah.
to talk about you, to open up, be vulnerable?
That is such a great question. And now that I think about it, at least in community college, I felt like there were some professors, and again, there were Latinos or Latinas or Latinx professors that I kind of opened up to. And it's not to just say, oh, I would just kind of lean towards our people, but honestly, I felt like they just understood kind of my story and my background, that I didn't necessarily have to explain so much. And then also feel like, am I putting myself out there too much, or are they not going to understand me? Are they going to judge me? So I tend to kind of resort to these folks. And then at San Diego State, there was a mecha, like I mentioned, like a mecha. It's a student run org at San Diego State. And so that was also kind of a place where there were a lot of people like me that looked like me, and that were there to share their stories, to pretty much do a lot of really cool activities on campus that spoke to our culture and to our roots, and so that was really a place for me to kind of just embrace and showcase my story and really share what I'm all about. And again, with professors that I felt like would not judge my story, who I was, and as a student, you know, I just kind of resorted to those folks that I felt like, you know, maybe they'll be open to hearing me out and knowing who I am as a student, or as a peer. So I think resorting to ultimately like staff or faculty, and then within the student organizations that I felt like there's more like me, that I can feel safe to share who I was and my story as a whole.
Do you think it's important for folks to share their story?
Very important.
¿Por qué?
Yes. Why? Because I feel like, and honestly, this is kind of why I started Mundo Latinx, and I also have this or implemented this whole storytelling of doing interviews to folks that can share their stories of how they went about doing what they're doing, right? And I think it's very valuable to share who you are, what was your path, your journey through life, because everyone has their own unique path. And I think that it's very cool to know whether you're Latinx, whether you're a minority, there are a lot of things that we have in similarities, right? That we all kind of go through. And it's really cool to just share, like, you know, this was my path. This is kind of what I did. And whether it could serve you, whether you can get inspired, that's essentially kind of the power of sharing what you've gone through, what you've done, and allowing people to know, hey, that person looks like me, and I can possibly do something like this. And so sharing the story and being vulnerable and sharing kind of what you've gone through and share that with folks, honestly, I feel like opens up a lot of avenues for other folks to feel like, hey, there is that representation. There is that person who's done it. Maybe I can reach out to that person and be kind of like, hey, can you be somewhat of like my mentor or guide if I want to follow your steps, right? So I think it really has a lot of impact when sharing kind of what your journey has been throughout life. Because again, I feel like everyone has their own, and it's very unique to that given person. So it just has a lot of value.
I completely agree, and thank you for answering that. Our story cannot be, ¿cómo se dice? Repeated, or there's a better word, but I lost it.
Duplicated.
Duplicated, there you go. Replicated, but duplicated, yes. Like no one has the same story as Jenny. No one has the same story as me. Doesn't matter we're from the same, like, same town. Doesn't matter we may look from the same background, look the same. We're not. This is my story. This is your story that we're sharing today. And I am a Latina. So I think it's so powerful to have the opportunity to feel brave and in a safe space to share your story. It's hard. Trust me. It's really hard. I'm here doing these lives. You're here doing this live with me. It's not easy to share your story for the fear of being, you know, criticized, etc. You know, so I really appreciate you sharing your story today. And I agree with you completely. You never know who you may inspire with your story. Yeah, exactly. You never know who other people may connect with your story. Like, oh, snap, that was me too. I went to the community college system and I was there for 3 years. Oh, wow. You know, or I attended I was a transfer student too. I attended San Diego State. I connect. And that makes it much more like amazing because you're not alone. We're not alone in these experiences, right? Whether it's university experience or like in the professional field and life, like we experience things, but we're not alone. So that's why I think that's a connection towards like being comfortable and asking for the help. Like when I was at community college and when we were talking about it right now, walking through that campus and feeling alone, feeling lost, I just didn't feel like I knew anyone that I felt probably like would understand me, or I just didn't know how to ask for the help, right? But feeling comfortable with your story and being able to open and share about it, like it's also part of the process of healing. Like I've been able to reflect so much on my life, about sharing my life, sharing my story, touching on pieces of it. Y me ayuda mucho with like my mental health, with reflecting, like, oh wow, like connecting with you, like wow, I'm not the only transfer student, right? Like, I'm not the only one who was a transfer student to CSU. And now, right now, you're doing higher ed work as well. So tell us a little bit about Mundo Latinx, because I know that's what you're doing right now. You've been doing it for 2021. I'm not sure if you started at the end of 2020. Pero ¿por qué empezó eso? And how is that tied with your purpose?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. So powerful. Well, so Mundo Latinx, I mean, I've always been very honed into and proud of my Mexican culture, latinidad, and just being able to showcase that. And so I always felt like, you know, why don't we create some sort of space or platform for folks like me, Latinos, Latinas, Latinx folks, to be able to connect, network with each other, support each other, and also find out what people are doing, right? I feel like and I started noticing that within my family, friends, acquaintances, people that I knew, have so many expertise and so many knowledge and just so much that they can offer to the world that sometimes we don't even tap into that. And we don't even know sometimes like what folks are doing, right? So I felt like, you know, why not provide that type of community or that type of space to folks to essentially being able to kind of be in this together, embrace our culture, embrace our roots, you know, and still be able to just support each other and be ourselves in a sense. And so Mundo Latinx really was just to empower all of us all to come together, to support each other, that if for example, with these, my segment in the interviews that I'm doing with Latinx Chats, which I implemented to highlight all Latinx folks that are doing really awesome things and your stories and really sharing who you are as an individual. These stories are essentially a way to highlight again and to share all that you're doing, and that for folks to kind of be inspired and to know that, again, there are other folks that are doing things like this. So if it were to be that, for example, someone's looking for an advisor within college, right? They have you, Ben. I interviewed you, and they can come across that interview and be like, oh my God, he could be possibly like someone I could reach out to for some guidance with, I don't know, some college related questions. Or I've interviewed folks within like consulting firms, right? Within business, within education. And so if that's something that you're interested in and you want to network with or ask for help, these are Latinos and Latinas that are doing these kinds of services and these efforts. So like, why not help each other out and just become better human beings, you know, as a collective group. So I really just thought it would be a really cool place to bring all that together. So that's kind of why I chose to start Mundo Latinx as a whole.
I love it. I love it. It is true. Like, you are bringing folks to share their stories from different fields, no, or just walks of life. And I think that's amazing porque, like I said in my previous post, right, like, we don't always have to just interview folks who just have degrees. Like, also there's people out there who didn't go to college, who are doing amazing things out there, right, starting businesses, etc. Y también it's important for them to be able to have the space to share their stories. You know, like, the story is also very important. And how is that tied with your purpose? What is, Jenny, what is your purpose?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that. So, yeah, I think honestly, my purpose in life is to give back to people, to help people out, and why not our own people, right? And I'm not just closed off to Latinx folks, Latinos, Latinas, but I think as a whole, it's safe to say that at least our culture sometimes tends to be very just closed off, or sometimes not always so on board with helping each other out, because we tend to be very like just thinking very individualistic and very kind of like, what's my gain? What am I going to get out of this? And kind of that mentality. Then sometimes it's very easy to judge. Like, I've heard a lot of friends and families that say something like, hey, I'm trying to start this business, or I'm trying to start this side hustle. And then what do you tend to hear sometimes? So people are judging and like, ay, no creo que va a funcionar, or like, I don't think that's going to work out, or like, you're crazy, and I'm not saying that that's always the case, but you tend to hear that from a lot of our folks within our community, right? So I just felt like what I wanted to do in life is, regardless of what I'm doing, whether it's higher ed, this project is, how can I give back to what I've already been able to get and help my own people, right? And so at the end of the day, we're all helping each other out. We're helping the economy, we're helping the world. So why not share kind of our insights, our expertise, and all that we have to our own folks and to anyone that needs these kinds of just knowledge, resources. And so just kind of paving the way for those folks that are coming behind me and that are kind of coming with me. And so just kind of that, it's really just giving back and being a resource to folks. So essentially really make life better, you know, and for all of us to just succeed together.
No, I love it. It's true. It's very true. Your page also brings awareness. Your page also, like you said earlier, celebrates our culture. And I love that you make it fun as well. Like, you ask us questions about, like, tell us about a saying that your mom had, or tell us, like, what do you prefer, this or that. And I think that's very intentional. No one else, in my point of view, is doing it like you're doing it. Like, you're doing this page, the message that you bring across, and like being just proud of like being, you know, Latinx, Latino, however you identify yourself. And that's beauty in it. You know, sometimes we're too busy in life that we sometimes forget these things, or we're in spaces at work or whatnot, donde tenemos que put that aside and just be the worker. And I think it's very important. Your page is amazing to remember to be yourself.
Yeah.
So we have a question here that says, what programs did you guys go for it through your for your master's. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your master's. I know we're getting close towards the end, so if anyone has any questions for Jenny, please feel free to put them on the chat or on the question button. I don't know where it's at, but somewhere on there.
Yeah, so for me, when I dived into higher ed, I've been in higher ed for 3 years now as an admissions counselor in different institutions. And when I started the whole journey, and as a first-gen student, I really saw the need to have representation again. And so for me, it was really awesome that the institution that I was working at the time had tuition programs that assisted their employees or staff to pay for their tuition. So that's kind of where I started my my journey through my master's. So I'm doing a master's of education in higher ed administration. So essentially staying within higher ed and helping in those efforts. But it wasn't that easy to figure out what program or what to go for. I didn't even know that I wanted to go for a master's even in the first place. I thought bachelor's was enough. But then I realized that why not go for this, you know, and especially within higher ed in the industry, it's very, it's great to have a master's to be able to kind of move up. So, and I really do love what I do, and being able kind of to be that mentor, that advisor, that guide for students to start their college journey. So, so for me, I was able to easily just dive into that, but I know there's a lot of great programs and schools that offer a lot of really amazing programs. So that's kind of where I went for.
Is it virtual at this moment?
Yes.
It's at Georgia? Okay.
No, yeah, it's all an online program.
Okay.
Georgia Southern, yeah.
So you wouldn't have to actually go to Georgia after the world comes back to normal?
No.
Okay.
No.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. I did my master's in Spanish because, again, thinking that I was wanting to be a professor, thinking that after my bachelor's, I needed a plan B right away, you know? So like, what do I do after I'm going to graduate? Oh, do my master's. What is it? Spanish. Okay, cool. Let's do that. So like, no one will say anything to me. But if I would go back, I would say, or maybe for the PhD that I'm thinking, hopefully in the future, would be something in probably higher ed. You know, so that's what I'm thinking now, but you never know, right? People change. But yeah, I mean, like one last question, because I just have to ask you, any advice that you can provide to the student in college right now? I guess, yeah. What advice can you provide to any student in college right now?
Yeah, honestly, so kind of having that admissions counselor role, I would really encourage all students to, depending on which school they're choosing to apply to reach out to the admission folks in those institutions, because they're there to help you. And so reaching out as early as you can, if possible, to start kind of that process and to essentially shop around, right? Because I would strongly suggest too, to like not just consider one specific option. There's definitely a lot of schools out there, regardless of where you're at in the world, that you really can tap into, knowing the school, knowing the staff, knowing the programs, how the school is, right? So really tapping into these resources. And honestly, we are kind of like the go-to, the point of contact for that specific institution. So I would strongly suggest for students to always don't be shy, reach out. There's folks that are willing to help you out through this process. And so just do that as early as you can, because you will get all the information that you need, hopefully, right? If people are doing their job. but yeah, reach out, and we are here to help you through this process. And just be aware too that if you ever were to come across an admissions counselor that's very pushy and wants you to just come to the school and they're not even considering other options, then that's kind of a red flag, because that then means that they just want you to come to their school and not really considering what your wants are and what your desires are as a student. So it is somewhat a business, I have to say it, but yeah, I honestly feel like just reaching out to folks that are in these roles to guide you through the process, I feel like would be the best kind of advice for college students.
Thank you so much. It is a business, by the way, but
yes.
No, but thank you so much, Jenny, for this conversation, for you sharing a little bit of your story, I know we have to cut a little bit short today, but I know this means that we have to do part 2, 3, 4, 5. Hay más tiempo que nada, no? So we'll be able to do that. And I think a part 2 is definitely necessary. And yeah, like, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm in social media. I'm under Mundo Latinx, and I have a YouTube channel as well. So it's under the same name. I do also have a website, so mundolatinx.net. And definitely reach out to me. I'm more than happy to guide students or anyone through any kind of questions, anything that I can help you guys all with. If we also want to collaborate, I'm all game. So yeah, reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny. Stay safe, take care, y nos vemos pronto.
Gracias, Ben. Gracias a todos. Thank you, everyone, for connecting. Bye.
All right, y'all. If there was 2 spaces on campus that I really didn't want to ever go to, was the financial aid office and admissions office. So hopefully every university and institution needs people like Jenny to work in those offices. I mean, nothing bad on the people that work there now, but it's intimidating, for just to say that. So it was definitely intimidating and tough. So, but yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you for everyone here being today on this conversation. I apologize that we have to cut a little short. I do have to go to a meeting right now. I'm kind of late, but no pasa nada. Next week, I will be having a great conversation next Wednesday, actually, with Saraí, about Sin Papeles, Sin Miedo. She is the founder of Dream Road app. If I messed it up, Dream Road Map. If I messed up, I really apologize. I don't know what's going on with me today, but yes, Saraí, we're going to talk about being a undocumented student, DACA, and all of that. Great information. I think it's definitely necessary. I don't know why it took me so long to be able to bring someone to talk about this, but we're definitely talking about this next week. And yeah, that will be episode 16. I think we are 16, 17, 18, 19. We have 4 more episodes in season 2 of Find Your Purpose. It's pretty much over. Oh my God. But yeah, like, lastly, like I said, shout out to all class of 2021, whether you're graduating high school, 8th grade promotion, community college, university, master's, PhD, whatever that might be for you. Congratulations. Shout out to all of you. You are graduating in the pandemic or post-pandemic, I don't even know. Power to all of y'all. And for those of you that are still on that road of getting your degree, you know, mucha fuerza and love from my part. You got this. You just know that you are not alone. You need any question, any support. There's people like me, hopefully, that you can find. If not, you can reach out to folks like me through social media, and we can try to point you to the right direction. Don't forget to check out my podcast, Latinx Greek Life. I will be mentioning my next guest on Saturday, and the episode is going to get released next Wednesday as well. So thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe, take care, and remember to find your purpose. Gracias.